Hi, Denise Dryden here and Andrea Bachman, and this is our first time doing something joint together. And it's a surprise live, you know. Usually I promote the Sunday stuff, but this just made sense to do. So Andrea's a yoga teacher. She's my yoga teacher. And she's also an Ayurveda coach. And it's something that I've dabbled in over the years, and it's something that comes up occasionally in my coaching, and I wanted to be able to talk about this and try interviewing and seeing how we interact together, because I think we've got some good stuff to talk about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Denise.
Of course. And so the topic today is how to take yoga off the mat and understand what else is available in lifestyle shifting and changing and tuning into yourself and bringing mindfulness. Oh, Kelly, you're on. That's awesome. And she's sending hearts across the top. That's awesome. Thank you, Kelly. So let's just start with the first question is, what drew each of us to yoga? And, you know, briefly, because we've got about 12 minutes. Do you want to go ahead and start, Andrea?
Sure. Well, actually, a former supervisor and mentor brought me to a Bikram yoga class. I think it's got to be 10 years ago.
Wow.
And so I actually started with a Bikram practice, and it was a really good way to start to connect with my body. It wasn't the practice that I continued, but I trusted this woman who was a mentor of mine, and really felt honored that she would gift me a yoga practice. And then another woman that worked for me, a girl that I mentored, brought me to a Hatha yoga practice and a vinyasa class in a non-heated space. And that's where I really found my connection. And I spent a lot of my life, age 5 to 19, as an athlete. That ran my life. And so after I had to quit doing sports all the time because of different injuries, yoga really met this need for me to connect with my body in a way that I really never had before. And so it was kind of a surprise connection. I don't think that I was seeking it out, but it was coming to me in these other ways. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and like you know, I played sports my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I was on a softball, field hockey, sort of volleyball track, and golf and swimming, and oh my God, everything. And you know, then I went from there, from coaching and playing sports into motherhood, and, you know, a lot of relocations, a lot of shifting around, and I got lost. I got lost in my body. I got lost in life, and yoga sort of came in as an alternative, and I wasn't really sure if I could do it, because I can't sit cross-legged, right? You know, I can't sit cross-legged. I can't sit still for very long, and I found a teacher in Salt Lake City that took me on as a private and gave me some ideas of how to participate in the class. And I was hooked, you know, 3 days a week. And I like Hatha, I like restorative, I like that slow, you know, like who are you and how do you let it all melt off of you on the mat.
Did that surprise you that you liked that style? Because I know a lot of people with an athletic background tend to be drawn to the more vigorous, like how can I take what I do on the ski hill or in the boat or on the trail into my yoga practice. I know for me, I really like the slower stuff because it's different and it's challenging my body and mind in a different way. So I'm curious if that surprised you.
Well, what surprised me was that I started to have some health issues with my children, and, you know, ear infections, constant colds, and all the doctors wanted to do was antibiotics and, you know, tubes in the ears and all of that. And what came up was Peter D'Adamo's Eat Right for Your Blood Type. So what I found out was there were 3 children and 2 adults, and all 5 of us were type A blood. And, you know, the exercises for type A blood are walking, hiking, golf, yoga. And I was like, ho-hum. Yeah. And then I realized that adrenaline that I have to summon all the time as an athlete is exhausting, and the slower paced exercise worked really well for me. And by the time I discovered yoga, I'd already sort of shifted into hiking and golfing, so it made sense to me. The hardest part has been getting my daughters, who are these uber athletes, to shift into yoga. And, you know, one by one, they kind of pick it up and go, oh.
Yeah.
Now we have one standout left, is my son.
Well, one of your daughters came to my class last week.
I know, I saw that. She's like, I can't believe you told her I was coming.
It was wonderful.
It was good. So Ayurvedic, let's talk about that.
Yeah. What do you
Sister
want to know?
Science. I'm fascinated with the fact that there's work that we do on the mat for an hour, but there's this entire ancient wisdom of how to support your being in and around the rest of your life when you're not on the mat.
Yeah.
And it makes sense to me that you're coaching this and that you really understand how to deepen your life experiences and your mindfulness and your pace in life with Ayurveda. So tell me about it.
Yeah, so Ayurveda is traditional Indian medicine or the sister science of yoga, and the word itself means life knowledge or the study of life or the knowledge of you or the study of you. And so what I really feel drawn to continually about the science itself is that it takes information from the world around us, like what is nature doing, what's the natural order of things, and how am I working with or against that within myself. And so it also acknowledges not only is there a natural order that we all work in, right, related to, the sun is up now, right, this is the time to be awake. We mostly get that. For the most part, there are some exceptions. But then how do I function differently than you do? What are the things that make me unique and that I need to nurture, which I don't know as much about the blood type philosophy, but there's a similar explanation that falls under the word dosha, which translates directly to at fault.
At fault?
At fault.
I didn't know that that's what they meant.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the idea is that we have these energies in our body that some people call biological humors, and we're all born with a particular makeup, meaning that we all are unique in some way. Some of us have a propensity for doing aggressive sports, and some of us have a propensity for being really creative. Others of us are really tall. Others of us gain weight really easily. All these things are just who we are. And then when the doshas, or when who we are, the patterning that we have goes at fault, these other characteristics come out. So if we have a tendency to carry a little extra weight, that might lead to a lot of extra weight. Or if we have a tendency to like the really aggressive sports, that might lead to an addiction to that kind of activity, right? When we're out of balance, or the creative mind can fall into forgetfulness or anxiety or feeling really disconnected and overwhelmed. And so Ayurveda doesn't just acknowledge that we have this patterning that relates to nature, but we have a patterning that works best for ourselves, and that we can be the creative or the athletic or the stronger frame person, and that can be in balance, and we can nurture that and love those qualities. But, and if we're not careful, or if we're not loving to that part of ourselves, really, that's what I think it is. It's less about regulation and more about love. If we don't honor how we can function best as ourselves, then one of those things goes out of balance and we become inflamed or, angry or withdrawn or lose a bunch of weight or gain a bunch of weight or whatever it is. Does that make some sense?
Yeah, and knowing that these three doshas, that we can be a unique combination of 1, 2, or 3, mostly 2, sort of in balance. What drew me initially to the Ayurvedic study was it determines what climate you like to live in, what serves you best. It determines what colors you need to have around you, sort of the hours of your productivity,
Absolutely.
the way that you nurture yourself, the way that you feed yourself. And one of the things I realized was I am a Vata Pitta. Vata can be really heady, mental, and Pitta can be very emotional and fiery. And if I'm around too much red, orange, and sort of hot colors, I can get overheated so fast. And then balancing it out. So you would love it. My house is this balance of all three doshas in every room on all the colors, because it makes me calmer.
Yeah.
And I never knew that my environment could do that.
Absolutely.
I knew it could do it on the mat for an hour, but now my home environment can do that.
Right. Well, and that reminds me of, I visited a friend of mine who I studied with in my program, and he was somebody who, he sells different tinctures and shampoos and essential oils and all the organic products that people love to buy at Whole Foods and elsewhere around the country. And when we arrived at his house, it was a long day trip. He had all the lights dim, and he had like lavender essential oil in the house. And I was like, this is amazing. Of course he knows how to honor that. And it was such a sweet acknowledgement that, yes, like the things I learn when I'm on my mat, and now there's almost no differentiation for me between on and off the mat. One, because I don't use a yoga mat.
That's
true. But that my practice and the things I learned about setting an intention about how I want to carry myself, how I want to connect with myself when I'm on the mat, they don't just have the potential to impact me off the mat, but how I am off the mat also can influence on the mat. And so it becomes not even a cycle, just a fluid space. It's like right now I happen to be moving my body in this way. And right then the next moment I might be in the kitchen. And then the next moment I'm in a conversation. But I'm still me in this fluid pattern that I don't have to suddenly embody this other personality or this other way of being. And so
you're not compartmentalizing anything. You're keeping the flow open.
Mm-hmm. And I think it really breaks the barriers that we all have of comparing ourselves to someone else, or in this situation I need to wear this hat. Mm-hmm. But if we really connect with, who we are, how we enter this world, and what brings us back into that space, then it allows for us to be ourselves. It doesn't mean that there's not resistance, but Ayurveda really provides an affirmation that who we are and how we enter the world is good and beautiful and perfect.
Yeah. So this is what you coach. Mm-hmm. So you coach that lifestyle that surrounds the non-yoga time and blends it with the yoga time.
Absolutely.
What drew me initially to working with you is that there's this calmness in the way that you teach yoga, and it allows me to come out of the class and stay in this ever expanding place. And so it's not like I can just shut it down and get in the car and go back to doing what I was doing because I just had my exercise. It's more like, oh, my blossoming is still happening and still happening. And later in the evening, oh, there it is, still happening.
That's so sweet to hear. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, and you had said earlier that Ayurveda is the sister science of yoga. And so that's sort of the motivation behind doing this today, was to present, here's, if you're doing yoga, consider Ayurveda. If you're doing Ayurveda, consider yoga.
Yeah.
Let's start exploring this. And then you have two coaches to talk to.
Absolutely.
So we both have websites, and I'm going to put them down at the bottom when I post this. And you can contact one or both of us for coaching. And if you like this conversation and you want to learn more, then by all means, text us.
Share it.
Share it. See, Kelly, love and honor your authentic self without trying to change yourself.
Oh, yeah, that's
Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah, that's it.
You're rocking it. And I will introduce you to Kelly. Kelly's awesome.
That will be great.
So again, if you'd like to get a hold of Denise or Andrea and you want to talk about coaching or yoga, Ayurveda, anything that's sort of in that lifestyle rebalancing, let us know if you want more. We can sit and do this anytime.
Absolutely. And I just want to say that something that I found really comforting and affirming about getting to know you is that your approach and your practice to working with mostly parents about their connection and balance with their children comes from this deep desire for your clients to really know who they are and how they function best so that they can connect in a way with their loved ones that loved one can feel safe and blossom in that way. And so there's like this, there's this resonant, I guess we resonate, is that the right word? In that way. And I felt that from the time that you started coming to yoga class, and I was like, oh, Denise is there.
I found another teacher. Here she is.
So thank you so much for inviting me to chat with you.
Yeah. Let us know if you want more, and have a great evening, and I'll post this and we can find it on our websites.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Mm-hmm.